All right, welcome to the third episode of the Born Again Christian series here. And today we have just Drew and I. Gabe decided not to come here because he is dumb. So, yeah. Anyways, so in episode 3, in today's episode, we will be getting on to chapter 2, which is the fear of the Lord, is what the title is. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say for the intro or to talk at the beginning here. If you're new to this series frame right now and you've just tagged along to this episode, go ahead and go back onto my God's Not Dead podcast Podbean page and read the first and second episode with the introduction and the first episode with first chapter if you are interested in the series. Well,
there are 9 paragraphs.
Yeah, there's not that many paragraphs either. This for chapter 2.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I think, to be honest, this is gonna be a little bit because I think last episode was like 20 minutes. We actually got into some conversation and a little bit more reading than we thought we would. So, but this one is pretty short. So, this episode shouldn't take as long, but time does fly. So, yeah, I think that's everything. I don't think there's anything else to kind of go over. So, do you want to read first? Do you want me to read first?
I will read first, and I'll read probably like 5 paragraphs. So, alright, so, chapter 2, the fear of the Lord. Wisdom is living your life in concurrence with the will of God, by walking in grace with Him. Wisdom begins with fearing God, Proverbs 1:17. The scriptures continually speak of the one true God as the God of glory. This means that God is to be considered most heavily and more or weighty in lives of His people, and that the sinful desires in us and cultural norms around us be seen as unnatural, depraved, and light in comparison to Him. Simply until you fear God and weigh Him most heavily in your life, you will remain an undisciplined fool. So I have provided the following verses of Scripture to simply scare you into seeing God in His holiness and power rather than re-envisioning Him in your mind as much less holy than He is. Subsequently, in your sexual sin as much as unholy than it is. In 1 Peter 4, verse 3, chapter 4, verse 3, we read, "For the time that past suffice for doing what the Gentiles want to do, living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness, orgies, drinking parties, and lawless adultery. God's men are urged by Peter not to return to their pagan patterns of reckless living and sexual perversion." In 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 through 17, we are urged, "Do not love the world for the things in the world, or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not with him. For all that is in the world, the desires of flesh and the desires of the eye and pride in possessions, is not from the Father, but it is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever." John's dire warning is that the lust of our eyes is continually enticed by images and perversions of the world in which we live, and we must remain vigilant not to love tempting the sins of the world. John's warning rings even more true in a culture where, because of technology, it is now easier to see someone naked than it is to get something out of a fridge. To get to the fridge, at least you need to stand up and walk. First John, just First John 3:9 teaches that no one born from God makes a practicing of sin, for God's seed abides in him. He cannot keep on sinning because he is born of God. Clearly, while no man of God can become perfect in this life, 1 John 1:8, God does promise that Christian men have the ability to walk away from habitual sins of all kinds, including sexual sins, which are commonly accepted as undefeatable foes. Practically, this means that sexual sin cannot be managed, but rather be put to death because Jesus died for it. I don't know if that's...
That was, I think I got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 left.
All right, here you go.
Really quick, actually, when you read, when it said, because of technology, it is now easier to see someone naked than to get something out of the fridge. That's like, that's exactly what we were talking about. I think it was in the introduction of how it's a lot, it is very easy to, that's a really good analogy. It's simple enough of how he says getting up and getting something from the fridge is just simply standing up and walking, whereas you can just type something up really quick and press enter and boom. Yeah, you know, it's available to you. So that's a good, I just wanted to go over that was exactly what we were talking about in the introduction. So that's good that it's written down in here. So that's exactly what that was. So anyways, I'll go ahead and start reading here. Was it
in 1 Corinthians?
In 1 Corinthians, okay. In 1 Corinthians 10:8, Paul says, "We must not indulge in sexual immorality as some of them did." And 23.
In 1 Corinthians 5:9 through 11.
Boy, what?
You're skipping a whole entire paragraph right there.
Wait, I started this one.
You start that one, yes.
Okay. All right. In 1 Corinthians 5:9 through 11, Paul says, "I wrote to you in my letter not to associate with sexually immoral people, not at all meaning the sexuality immoral of this world, or the greedy and swindlers or adulterers, since then you would need to go out of the world. But now I am writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother if he is guilty of sexual immorality, not even to eat with such a one. Simply, any man who claims to be a Christian but lives in habitual, unrepentant sexual immorality is not fit for Christian friendship and community unless he repents, because he is defiling his friends and their church with his perversion. The cold, hard truth is that most guys' struggles are only known by their fellow Christian buddies, and unless Christian dudes man up and stop arguing about stupid secondary theological issues and spend their energies holding one another accountable to get dominion over their underwear." That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Then Christian fellowship is nothing more than Christian fakery. That's a good paragraph. I totally understood that.
Oh, yeah. No.
In 1 Corinthians 10:8, Paul says, "We must not indulge in sexual immorality, as some of them did, and 23,000 people, why did I add people? And 23,000 fell in a single day." Speaking of God's people in Exodus, Paul warns us that throughout history, God was so sickened by sexual sin that he killed perverted multitudes in the desert, as well as in places like Sodom and Gomorrah.
I have no idea.
I'm going to say Gomorrah.
Gomorrah.
Yes, God does whack some people.
Get whacked.
Yes, he does. He whacked me a few times yesterday spiritually. Anyways, yes, God does whack some people. Sometimes it's all at once, and sometimes it's a bit at a time, say with a sexually transmitted disease. Worse still, some victims of sexual sin also experience sickness, like my buddy who gave his wife herpes, and even death, like dudes who give their wives AIDS. However, you go out, do you really want to be the guy with a computer mouse in one hand scratching his itchy junk with his other hand standing before Jesus and scrambling to explain himself? That is also a good last sentence there. Wow. Yeah, no, that that hit me pretty good. That's a good point. You know, it's not if you like basically if if you're just sitting there like doing your thing on watching your monitor like or whatever you're watching, say pornography on, and you're just like, all of a sudden she just pops up on your screen looking at you like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, what? Just if out of all people, if he sees you, because I mean he already does, but like physically, just
you see, it's just like him
you see yourself, and you're just like, wow, what am I doing? Who am I, and why am I? It's it's
that image is very powerful, right there.
Very, yeah. In 1 Corinthians 6:9-10, Paul says, "Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral nor idolaters will inherit the kingdom of God. Clearly, God takes the sexual sins of his men so seriously that men who remain enslaved to sexual sin will die in their sins and wake up in the eternal torments of hell. Sure, the naked people you like looking at are hot, but so is hell." This is actually... He is going at it. Yeah, God isn't... Not only is God slapping you in the face, but so is Mark. I mean, these are some serious... Yeah, dude, this is a good...
He said he's frank, man, so he's being frank with you.
This is a good chapter. This is a very good chapter. And we still got one more little paragraph left to go. No, that's... Yeah, no, that is so true. I mean...
Sure, the naked people you're looking at are hot.
Mm-hmm.
So is hell, though, man. You're going to be in a lake of fire just begging for just a drop of water from a finger. That's how hot it is, man. You're going to... So, I mean, is it really worth that?
No, it's not. I'll tell you that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish this up. My single point with all of these warnings from Scripture is to implore you to take any sexual sins you may have as seriously as your God does. Now that we have pointed our discussion of sexual sin in a God-ward direction, we are prepared to speak of the specific issues of pornography and masturbation that enslave so many God's sons. That right there, that's the real introduction right there. I mean, we kind of...
We read those two paragraphs, and those were good. Those first two chapters were good. And then we just go to chapter 2, and then just the big, fat...
Bam, just like right at you. But I mean, it's like even like the other chapters, I mean, it was just kind of like a bunch of fancy words, really, and we kind of weren't... the first chapter we kind of understood, like the introduction chapter was kind of
fairly easy,
to understand and to reflect on. Yeah, the first chapter, a tall glass of toilet water was a little weird, really. I mean, there were like one or two paragraphs in there that we kind of understood, but this
one hits home all the time, every time.
Just a lot of people can relate to this. I mean, if this is a struggle for you, really. So no, that's wow. I don't even know. We kind of reflected already a little bit inside the chapters there because we knew exactly what's going on. I don't know if I can. Is there anything else?
Worse still, some victims of sexual sin also experience sickness, like my buddy who gave his wife herpes and even death. Like the dudes who give their wives AIDS. People with sexual sin who struggle with that kind of stuff, when they're going out and getting prostitutes and stuff like that, they're then bringing it home for their wives to enjoy, all of that. And to be honest, I'm 19. I don't want to wake up that way. I don't want to wake up saying, all right, where's my next hooker? Because I don't want to wake up that way, and I don't want to come home to my wife and say, I just want a nice, warm, cooked meal I want to stare at your beautiful face, and that's all I want to do.
You don't want to.
I don't want.
You don't want to look at anybody lustfully.
I don't want to look at any other woman and just be like. I mean, I know I'm going to find women attractive. I'm going to find plenty of other girls attractive.
It's our nature. It's in our nature. It's exactly in our nature.
It's inevitable. I will find someone that looks hot, but I want to look at my wife and I want to be like, but she's even hotter. She, with all of that beauty and all that personality, I want to be able to do that. And so I want to walk up to her and say, hey, I used to struggle with this kind of stuff, but thoughts of you. I didn't know what you looked like, I didn't know who you were, but thoughts of you were the only thing that got me through this, and God. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know a genuine wife is, that you know, even, I've even heard that, relationships have totally gone south. I mean, even heavily guarded by Jesus, religious relationships that people have given to God, and the guys come forth, confessing this issue or relatively specifically about any kind of sexual immorality, and the relationship just killed, even though
it's a hard blow to deal with. I mean,
that it was given to the Lord. I mean, it happens, and you should, coming home to a wife one day and saying, you know what, I'm gonna be up front with you. This and this happened. I've done this, and then it's just.
To be honest, I don't even think you should just wait until you're married. I think if you really care about this girl, and you struggle with this kind of stuff, you tell her right before, or you're struggling with this kind of stuff. You don't tell her when you've messed up or whenever that kind of stuff happens. You tell her when at least you got like a 4-month period of you're good. You haven't done it in a long time. But you tell the girl before you get married. Because if she gets married to you and she doesn't know about that kind of stuff, to her that's gonna massive explosion of her world right there.
I like your exaggeration.
It's my
Even though you didn't just see him, you did not just see what he did. He put the cookie down is what he did. He smashed his fist right into it. He did the biggest fist smash of all time. But anyways, besides that,
I mean, it will emotionally crush her that you didn't trust her enough to tell her before this. And it'll crush her because she feels lied to this whole entire time. To be honest, you gotta tell her this kind of stuff because this stuff it's real, and to them it makes or breaks the relationship. Because I mean, I always have told my girlfriends before I dated them that I struggle with this kind of stuff. I don't tell them when I mess up unless I have gone 4 months without this kind of stuff. Then again, I've only had 3 girlfriends, and the rest of the girls don't even look at me. But, I mean, as is life. But you gotta tell them this kind of stuff, because this stuff, it's just as real for them as it is for you.
I totally like to add something. Speaking of that, I had one really good relationship, and actually the reason why it became separated was because of my significant other's sexual tensions, and what I learned because I mean, she doesn't know what I've been struggling with, and I only knew what she was struggling with until after she ended the relationship. Let's just say that. And communication and trust, in my opinion, are the two biggest things, specifically if we're talking about, between a spouse and one another, with communication, with maintaining a good relationship under the Lord, and if you're going through something, communication and trust, being able to trust, well, no, actually, being able to communicate first
So you can have that trust
with them, and so you should be able to trust them when you communicate with them. Those are, if you don't have one or the other, if you have communication but you don't have trust, you can communicate, but then if there's no trust within her, that you hope that she doesn't go out and say it to a bunch of people, of her friends, and spill the beans, or if you don't trust her, or if she doesn't trust you into with this sexual immorality and your problems, and you go out and cheat on her or something, all that stuff. No trust, no communication. If there's no communication, then you're just not going to know, and it might become a surprise, and then your relationship will just end on maybe one of the other cheating on another, or and so forth. So communication and trust, those are key. I'm saying it because
The three
my
biggest.
my relationship suffered because of it. So, and I think there was a little bit of lack of God in that anyways. But besides the point, those are very important. So keep that in mind, besides just of us talking about the sexual immorality part with the personal issue. But
The biggest three problems in a relationship is communication, sex, and money. All three of those things are something that play a key role in a relationship with a woman. I mean, obviously sex has a humongous part of that. It's the physical bonding of two people whom are entering a pact that will bind them together forever. And people that you have sex with, they're connected to you, no matter what. You'll never get them out of your mind. You live with that person in your mind for the rest of your life. And that's how it's going to be for the rest of your life. And then communication, if you don't have that communication, if you don't have an open line, a two-way street of communication and trust, there's really no relationship there. You're just talking to somebody, you're just talking to a brick wall, which is basically what I do when I'm home alone. I just start talking to people that aren't even there. But it helps me vent and helps me do a lot of things. But eventually you're going to need somebody to actually talk to actually listen, so that they can actually provide some support, love, and trust. Because if you don't trust the person that you're talking to, what's the point of being in that relationship? And money, you got to be able to provide a good life for that person too. Because I mean, if she doesn't feel secure in the relationship with you, where you have like $2 to your name, and you're trying to pay rent, provide food, and feed the kids, and all of this other stuff, it's not really going to work out. You got to be able to look at yourself and say, all right, finances, got it. I got the finances. I got the house. I got all of that. So you got to really think about all of this kind of stuff, because when you enter a relationship, you got to realize that
all hell breaks loose. I'll tell you that.
You're gonna fight. You're gonna do a lot of things. She can be your living hell, or she can be the closest thing you'll ever have to heaven. And so you got to realize that when the bad days come, it doesn't say if in the Bible. It says when. I wish he said if, because that'd been so much easier. But when is when it's going to happen. And so you got to realize that every day is going to be a roller coaster. And she may have a bad day, and she'll vent on you and get pissed at you and yell at you for maybe doing the stupidest thing, like leaving your underwear on the bathroom floor again. Because she just wasn't having a great day. She got stressed out, and so. But all of these three things, communication, sex, and money, are very key to a relationship. Because you got to be ready for that kind of stuff.
Very, very awesome. Awesome, good stuff. Well, we kind of went in two different topics after that, but
Basically.
that was a good talk, though. I mean, we got into some serious stuff. We're 25 minutes right now.
We should probably just extend these to like 30 to 20 minutes now.
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends. I mean, it was either 10, 15 minutes. Now it was 20 minutes and at the end of the chapter. But no, there's some good stuff. I mean, I would not limit my time off of good conversation. I just don't want to make it seem
like we're
long
rambling.
And boring and rambling. Exactly. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But no, that was good stuff. I mean, we kind of just I think it was really cool that we went and talked about and how it because relationships intertwine with sexual immorality. That's because I think they talked about that
they
in
talked
there.
about it in there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they talked about it. I don't know. I gotta look. My phone's off because if I don't look at it long enough, it's just gonna be a butthead. But
I think it was because
the women
clearly God takes the sexual sins of his men so seriously that men who remain enslaved to sexual sin will die in their sins and wake up in the eternal torments of hell. Sure, the naked people you are looking at are hot, but so is hell.
Yeah, I mean,
there might have been something in there, but yeah, no. Relationship in sexual immorality. That's like, yeah, those two go together. I mean, they don't.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't,
together.
but
it's something that every guy struggles with, and I mean, girls struggle with this kind of stuff too. I don't doubt that. Pretty sure there's plenty of girls out there who go and do the same things that us guys do. I mean, it's not as, I should say, common.
Yeah.
Guys are a little bit more sexually charged.
Yep.
But there are some sexually charged women out there too.
Yep. So, all right. I think that will be the it. I was gonna say the end, but I said the it for some reason. That'll be the end of this episode here. Thanks again for joining in this this
episode.
This chapter was very blunt. It was it was easy to understand. It just got right down to the point. There weren't any really.
Well, frankness. That's exactly what frank is.
Yeah, it got down
punch,
deep on that one, and it just didn't talk. It didn't seem like it sugarcoated like the last chapter did on chapter 1. So now, just like again, if you have not. If this is your first time joining in this chapter, check out our first chapter 1 and the introduction, episodes 1 and 2, and I think we're still gonna do this. I said in episode 2, the last episode, that if you for some reason or need some prayer or need to talk to either me or Drew about something personally, or if you want to start a conversation on my Podbean page on godsnotdeadpodcast.com, totally let us know. I have my email down in the comment section as well, or in the description. So if you want to personally talk to me about something or ask for prayer, you can, or you can do it in the public comments if you want to go public, and if you want somebody else to join in or help you out. So that's totally cool. And we'll definitely pray for you. That's definitely something we can do. So, thanks again for joining us in on this episode 3, chapter 2. And next episode is chapter 3, a theology of pornographic
lust.
Theology of pornographic lust. So, yeah, that's everything. So, thanks again, and until next time.
See you later.